Welcome to Film My Watch List. Today I'll be recommending some of the best overlooked films from 2017. For this list, I'm counting films that were released theatrically in Ireland from January to December this year, so one or two choices on the list may have been out elsewhere in late 2016, but the majority were released worldwide in 2017. When husband and father Toshio invites an old acquaintance Yasaka to help him in the workshop under his family home, Toshio's wife Aki is concerned. Who is this eccentric, mysterious man that her husband has never mentioned before? As Yasaka begins to bond with the family, mentoring their daughter on playing their harmonium, Aki begins to let her guard down. Maybe Yasaka is just a harmless, lonely individual. I happened to see this Hitchcockian Japanese thriller on a whim after seeing that it had won the Uncertain Regard Jury Award at this year's Cannes Film Festival. I was instantly captivated by its creeping sense of unease and rising tension. The film gets under your skin and takes its time in unraveling the family mystery at its core. Its chilling use of the titular harmonium is extremely effective, and the main cast give terrific performances. Tadanobu Asano, a highlight as the unnerving Yasaka. If you're looking for an unpredictable thriller that plays on your nerves to devastating effect, look no further than Koji Fukada's Harmonium. This one is a bit more well known, but still criminally underseen. A ghost story follows a young couple, Rooney Mara and Casey Affleck, in the midst of moving house. When Affleck's character unexpectedly dies, he can't let go and decides to stay on, looking at the effects of his passing on his partner and the house he was so attached to. There's so many reasons this film shouldn't work. The silly premise and choice of childlike ghost costume seems like parody at first glance. However, the touching sincerity taken by Ain't Them Body Saints and Pete's Dragon director David Lowery makes the film a gentle and achingly poignant study on time and its ethereal nature. The film is extremely slow at points and will definitely test the patience of some. One scene early on involving a pie has become a punchline for many who criticize a ghost story. That being said, if you can stick with it, the film rewards you with some of the most beautiful and original imagery seen in any film in quite a while through the stunning cinematography of Andrew Draws Palermo. Though made in a minuscule budget, the film is not constrained by this and has the audacity to ask big questions about existence and life. Though at times it may ride the line between poignant and pretentious for some, I think it manages to reveal its message with breathtakingly poetic visual storytelling and a beautiful soundtrack.
My father bought you, along with a piece of land not fit enough for a cow to graze upon. You will remain indoors with your prayer book.
I like the fresh air. I like being outside.
Take it off. Your nightdress, take it off. Face the wall. Face the wall!
Perhaps unfairly, I tend to be put off by Victorian period pieces, and if it wasn't for some of the great reviews Lady Macbeth was getting prior to release, I may have avoided it completely. I'm delighted I didn't. The film is a shocking, suspenseful drama with a number of thrilling moments. The filmmaking is refreshingly paced in a modern style without jarring with its 19th century setting. It's beautifully shot and boasts an intense, tightly written script. The anchor of the film, however, is a breakout performance by Florence Pugh. The young actress is riveting, unpredictable and terrific. Her refusal to conform to the expectations placed upon her give the film a distinctly modern feel. Pugh's Catherine is certainly no Jane Austen character. Lady Macbeth is a stunning feature debut by director William Oldroyd. Definitely worth seeking out.
Han pasado solo 3 años desde el fin de la Segunda Guerra Mundial y aquí está a punto de empezar una persecución fabulosa.
Pablo Neruda was a Nobel Prize-winning, world-renowned writer of romantic poetry. What some people may not know is that his staunchly political outspokenness as a member of the Communist Party was a trait that made him a fugitive in his home country of Chile in the 1940s. Chilean director Pablo Larraín, whose fantastic Jackie got a number of Oscar nominations earlier this year, made this brilliantly playful biopic around the same time, but it didn't have the same amount of traction, most likely because of its Spanish dialogue. Though lower key than the Natalie Portman Oscar nominee, Neruda is quirky, unpredictable, and often very funny in its depiction of bumbling bureaucrats attempting to silence the brash and egotistic poet. Gael Garcia Bernal of Amores Perros and Neruda's 2012 film No is terrific in an against-type role as the inspector pursuing Neruda. So too, Luis Gnecco plays Pablo Neruda brilliantly, showing off both the allure of his eloquent talent as a writer, as well as the self-absorbed nature that comes from such constant adoration from the public. Part chase comedy, part poetically shot biopic, Neruda is a delightful watch.
Have you been hurting any animals?
Maybe thinking, but I don't do it. Not anymore.
Wow, you're really into
Vampires.
I was gonna say scary movies.
This Small Indie is another feature debut, this time by director Michael O'Shea from Brooklyn, New York. The Transfiguration is a brilliantly understated installment into the vampire genre and features an impressive performance from Chloe Levine. When troubled teen Milo, who has a fascination with vampire lore, meets the equally alienated Sophie, the two form a bond that begins to blur Milo's fantasy into reality. Embracing the limitations of his lower budget, O'Shea manages to convey his chosen themes in subtle and effective ways. Taking the thematic conventions of the vampire genre and using them to comment on the solitary existence of a bullied teen in a poor neighborhood is a brilliant framing device. Through a great deal of reverence and homage to famous vampire flicks of the past, seen through the prism of a movie-obsessed teen with a dysfunctional family life, The Transfiguration uses horror tropes and tonal inspiration to highlight the social trepidation at meeting someone who acts different to the norm. The relationship between the enigmatic Milo and his brother was a major highlight for me. Overall, the film plays something akin to a mix between Moonlight and Let the Right One In, though not quite on the same level as those two modern masterpieces. The Transfiguration marks director Michael O'Shea as an exciting new voice.
Should we investigate? Should you shut the fuck up before you get us both killed?
Coming from the brilliantly funny Armando Iannucci, whose writing and creator credits include Alan Partridge, The Thick of It, its movie spin-off In the Loop, and the popular US comedy Veep. The Death of Stalin is a hilarious political satire based on the graphic novel of the same name. Though not yet released in the States, the film had an Irish and UK release this October, boasting a stacked ensemble cast including Steve Buscemi, Paddy Considine, Jeffrey Tambor, Rupert Friend, Michael Palin, Olga Kurylenko, Andrea Riseborough, and a scene-stealing turn from Jason Isaacs. The film is a hilarious send-up of the immediate aftermath of Joseph Stalin's death. With backstabbing, conniving, manipulating, and secretive power grabs, Iannucci's script makes perfect use of the subject matter, whilst blending it with his politically farcical signature style that works as a brilliant continuation of The Thick of It and Veep. Without minimizing the awful crimes carried out by Stalin and his lackeys, the film casts the players in a light of ridiculous incompetence that elicits a number of laugh-out-loud moments, whilst allowing room for sobering reflection on the bleak consequences associated with many of these actions. Iannucci expounds on his previous work by adding depth and emotional heft to his already well-known comedic abilities by utilizing the wide range of his hugely talented cast. If the film hasn't been released in your part of the world yet, don't miss it when it eventually is.
So, can you tell me a little bit about your mother?
She really liked to drink beer, but sometimes we had fun.
I'm gonna take you to a really nice place with other children who are like you.
My Life as a Courgette, or if you're in the States, My Life as a Zucchini, was nominated for an Oscar for Best Animation, but despite this and the fact that a talented American voice cast including Nick Offerman dubbed the French original to make it more palatable for a young English-speaking demographic, the film was disappointingly underseen this year. It may be that strange title, or the lack of a proper marketing budget, but for those who miss this wonderfully simple and heartwarming French animation, it is certainly worth the minimal 70 minutes of your time it would take to watch it. The story follows the eponymous Courgette, a shy boy who after the death of his mother is sent to a foster home where he meets a diverse assortment of forgotten children and learns the meaning of trust and true love. With unique shot compositions and an authentically human take on childhood friendship and perseverance in difficult situations, My Life as a Courgette is a touching and artistically beautiful little film that deserves a much bigger audience.
There's never going to be another mission like it. It was the first and last of its own kind.
It's the most audacious mission. Who'd have thought that we'd actually be able to do that in 1977?
The spacecraft is quite primitive by modern day standards. Their total memory is about 240,000 times less than in your smartphone.
Though documentaries rarely do well upon theatrical release, The Farthest, made by Irish director Emer Reynolds, is such a well-made and universally appealing account of the launch and inside story of NASA's Voyager probe that I'm surprised it didn't receive a larger distribution. The documentary evocatively and brilliantly recounts the story of the only man-made project to leave our solar system. With an assortment of fascinating interview subjects and stunningly effective cinematography and animation that deserves to be seen on the big screen, this fantastic film lives up to its breathtaking true story and is a fitting tribute to Voyager that should inspire younger generations whilst enlightening those who knew little about the probe that was once so famous. This is essential viewing for documentary fans and space aficionados.
We are at a turning point in our history. As you know, there is a growing disrespect for government. It is a crisis of confidence. We can see this crisis in the growing doubt about the meaning of our own lives and in the loss of a unity of purpose for our nation.
Another Oscar nominee that went somewhat under the radar for many this year was Mike Mills' 20th Century Women. Though receiving its nod for Best Original Screenplay, the centre point of the film is without a doubt Annette Bening's terrific performance, who really should have been nominated for Best Actress for her role as the matriarch of an unusual family home/boarding house in late 1970s California. The film lives up to its title by showcasing some brilliantly strong and diverse female performances from Bening, Elle Fanning, and Greta Gerwig. Casting light on an atypical domestic setting, the film follows teenage Jamie and the way his life is shaped by these three unique women. Billy Crudup plays the part of an easygoing hippie lodger at the house to great effect, affording Jamie a male role model while also inadvertently teaching him some valuable life advice through his less responsible actions. 20th Century Women is a warm, funny and often moving portrayal of adolescence and mother-son relationships, as well as the effect that a predominantly female influence can have on the character of a young man in a time where attitudes towards women are slowly but surely changing for the better. Though already striking a chord with fans of independent European cinema after some strong buzz from this year's Cannes Film Festival, Raw, an exciting and evocative feature and another debut to round out our list, was also criminally underseen this year. Director Julia Ducournau creates an oppressive and often shocking vision of college life with the story of a young vegetarian who has to undergo a bizarre and carnivorous hazing ritual upon starting her first week in veterinary school. The film has a lot to say about female sexuality, the intimidating feeling of going to college alone, the intimidating feeling of moving to an unfamiliar place, and the familial pressures of following in the footsteps of your parents. With stunning imagery, a unique mix of the natural and supernatural, and a terrifying score, Raw would make a fitting companion piece to the earlier mentioned Transfiguration, but is even more effective in selling its strange genre blend. The film is audacious, stomach-churning, and absolutely brilliant, and if you missed it in theaters, it really deserves being sought out. What would you add to the list? Disagree with some of my choices? Let me know in the comments. To add to the above, I would highly recommend the Safdie brothers' thrilling Good Time and Yorgos Lanthimos' excitingly weird The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which I decided not to add after having reviewed them both in the past few weeks. You can watch those reviews by clicking on the links on screen. The next list coming up will be my top 10 films of the year. Subscribe to Film My Watch List for more film reviews and lists in the future. Thanks very much for watching.